This is for week 9. David Hume noticed something philosophically embarrassing about his own position. He couldn't stop believing in causation even after he'd argued convincingly that our senses never actually show it to us. He could prove it to himself that all he ever sees is one event following another. But the moment he stopped concentrating on that proof, belief in causation came rushing back. He treated this as a stubborn psychological habit, not as evidence that his argument had missed something. Whitehead thought Hume was looking in the wrong place. Causation isn't something we see. It's something we feel from the inside, at a level deeper than sense perception. Because we experience ourselves in every moment as arising out of moments before us, we don't infer causation from watching billiard balls. We know it because we are in every moment. It's broad enough. So here's the question. Does Whitehead actually solve Hume's problem? Or does he just relocate it? If we can't trust our senses to reveal causation, why should we trust this deeper, pre-reflective layer of experience to do it? And if the best answer is something like, because we can't help but believe it, haven't we landed right back where Hume was standing? Hume's honesty is actually the most interesting about his position. Hume didn't hide the problem he created for himself. He proved to his own satisfaction that causation never appears in sense experience, only sequences do, and then admitted he couldn't stop believing it in the moment. He stopped concentrating on the proof. He called that a psychological habit and moved on. What's worth pressing is why he was so confident the habit was the problem, rather than a signal that his framework was missing something. He had already decided sense experience was the only legitimate source of knowledge, so anything that didn't show up there had to be explained away rather than investigated further. And to relate this to the text, Mesley's chapter 6 account of Hume admitting he reverted to believing in causation immediately after stopping his mental effort, and treating that fact as interesting about mental habits rather than as a challenge to his argument. Whitehead's move is to change where you look, not what you find. Whitehead agreed with Hume that causation doesn't appear in sense experience. He just argued that sense experience isn't the deepest layer of experience available. What he calls perception, the mode of causal efficacy, is the pre-reflective, felt sense of arising out of the previous moment. The way fatigue accumulates, the way pain has a location and a source. The way stumbling on a step you didn't see proves the world was already there before your senses painted it. This isn't a sixth sense or mystical claim, it's the observation that your body registers a casual embeddedness in the world before your conscious mind assembles a picture of it. And to relate this to the text, in chapter 6's example of stumbling upon a step in the dark, where casual efficacy corrects the construction picture of presentational immediacy without any consciousness reasoning involved. The real question is whether this actually solves anything or just relocates the problem. This is where the prompt gets sharp and where honest critical analysis is important. Hume's problem wasn't that he could justify belief in causation through sense experience. Whitehead's answer is that there's a deeper layer of felt experience that grounds it. But that just moves the question back one level. Why should pre-reflective layer of bodily feeling be more trustworthy than sense perception? Whitehead's answer seems to be that we can't help but believe it. It operates beneath our ability to bracket the way Hume bracketed his sensory conclusions. That's uncomfortably close to Hume's own position, where the belief just rushes back regardless of what the argument says. I have skepticism about how the inherited framework applies directly. Whitehead is essentially saying this particular way of belief is so foundational we can't get underneath it to question it. That might be true. It also might just be the deepest level at where we're stuck that we can't prove. This concept makes me think of simulation theory, and I'll relate it to this. If the architecture generating what we call reality is itself a constructed system, then neither the sensory surface Hume was examining or the pre-reflective bodily layer Whitehead points to are necessarily tracking something real about causation in any ultimate sense. They're both outputs of the same system. Whitehead's causal efficacy might just be the felt texture of how the system renders continuity into experience, which would explain why we can't help but believe it without that belief being evidence of anything beyond the rendering process itself. Whitehead says we can't step outside the causal web to verify it from outside. Simulation theory suggests that might be literally true in a way he didn't intend. And the inability to step outside is a feature of the architecture rather than proof the architecture is accurate. Hume ends up believing something he can't justify. Whitehead ends up grounding justification in a layer of experience that can't itself be verified from the outside. The difference is that Whitehead's framework at least gives you something to work with rather than a dead end. Causal efficacy as a concept explains why we believe in causation, why the world pushes back when we misread it, and why our sense perceptions can be corrected by something deeper than other sense perceptions. That's more coherent than Hume's position, even if it doesn't eliminate the mystery. But the honest answer to whether Whitehead solves Hume's problem is that he dissolves the framework that made it a problem, which is not quite the same thing as solving it.